So you want to play sniper in MvM, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe get a professional kill streak, a bot killer, an Australian, maybe even a gold pan? Well, I respect the commitment, but your fellow teammates here don't. Sniper gets a really bad rap when talking about MvM with fairly good reasoning, to be honest. It's not like Sniper has the best crowd control capabilities, the ability to collect money, high damage output against single targets, or deal decent tank damage, nor can he actually support the rest of his team. Oh wait, I was being sarcastic. Sniper can do all those things. That's crazy, who would have thunk? So why is it considered such a sin to play as him in MvM? Sniper, unfortunately, suffers from something called skill within MvM, and for those that are simply looking to get in, do their tours, watch someone else get an Australian and leave, it's typically a safer bet to just assume that the person who's playing Sniper has zero skill and ask them to play an easier class. But let's put an end to that Sniper stigma, starting today. This is the MvM Sniper Guide. This guide aims to be a general overview and overlook for playing Sniper. There won't be any specific tour or mission details. It's also going to be slightly opinionated, throwing that out there now because I can already hear someone with 2,000 tours and $4,000 in debt commenting on the logistics and numbers on certain things I'll be saying. I've done my fair share of tours, official and custom, and I got a fairly decent grasp on the class. With the boring legal stuff out of the way, let's begin.
Yeah. Let's win this one, lads!
Whoa, hold on. Do you think you just march out there with that thing? Let me tell you about the 27th universal constant. Weapons that are bad in casual are surprisingly good in MvM. Starting with your selection of primary weapons, we have the Huntsman. It's terrible. How terrible, you may ask yourself? Imagine being an orphan child, witnessing your parents die horrifically in front of your very eyes and being placed into an orphanage, when suddenly a new loving family comes in, looking to adopt a child. And they decide to adopt a mouse. Reel back the pain and suffering a bit, and you have a grasp on how horrible the Huntsman is in MvM. Sniper's biggest claim to fame is his immense crowd control capabilities for the explosive headshot upgrade. Something the Huntsman gets rid of and replaces it with bleed damage for some reason. Aside from the sharp decrease in damage, you'll also be forced into being closer to the robots and require damage resistance upgrades that you wouldn't really need with any other sniper rifle. Following that, we have the Classic, which shouldn't be a shock as it can only headshot at full charge. Once again, greatly limiting Sniper's crowd control capabilities with no upside. Even if you buy all 4 of the charge rate upgrades and attempt to maximize getting headshots, you still have to wait a full second and a half to do so. The stock sniper rifle and Machina are both just dandy. There's not a whole lot to say about either one, to be honest. They have access to explosive headshot and can take care of crowds. And the 15% damage bonus and projectile penetration the Machina has on full charge is a nice bonus, but not a real game changer as it does require you to take your time and wait with each shot. The Sydney Sleeper is kind of odd. It removes Sniper's ability to take care and focus on a single target like a giant because it can't headshot, but it still has access to explosive headshots, which does work. They deal normal damage, meaning it still has crowd control capabilities. In exchange for being able to headshot and deal massive damage to single targets, you play a more supportive role, coating giants and Girardi so they take more damage. If you purchase the Girardi upgrade, Slow Coated Enemies, it also applies to the Sydney Sleeper, oddly enough. A niche upside that has some use if you're getting really hammered by giant scout waves. Is it any good though? Not really. If you're playing with a soldier or scout, they'll definitely be running the buff banner and Fan of War, so you're already dealing less damage without even supporting your team through mini crits. But it is a fun change of pace. If you plan on using the Sydney Sleeper, do not buy the 4th and final charge rate upgrade. The Sydney Sleeper already has a 25% faster charge rate, and it's impossible to pass 100%. Only buy 3 of them. Keep that little tidbit in mind when using the Bizarre Bargain. With 6 total heads and a max charge rate of 200%, you gain absolutely zero benefit from buying any charge rate upgrades, so feel free to use that $800 elsewhere. The Bizarre Bargain is pretty good in early waves when money is scarce, but drops off a cliff in later rounds. Recommend putting that $800 in some resistances or health on kills, since you wouldn't want to refarm those heads if you die, especially because explosive headshot kills do not increase your total head count. Finally, we have the King of the Crosshair, the Monarch of Marksmen, the Regent of Rifles, the Hitman's Heatmaker. Undeniably the strongest sniper rifle in the MvM meta due to the focus ability, with the only downside being a completely unnoticeable body shot damage penalty. The Hitman's Heatmaker is such a powerhouse that I'll undermine its power even when discussing it now. Focus fills up completely after a combination of 3 kills or 9 assists, but you can activate it at any time, and can continually refill it with kills while active. These kills also include explosive headshot kills, typically meaning 1 headshot is all you'll ever need to enter God mode. In Focus, you remain scoped in and on your target, and your charge rate starts immediately without a slight delay like with other sniper rifles, slightly boosting your damage in addition to gaining a 25% charge rate. This makes it extremely easier to target robots carrying the bomb, or more commonly, giants. In addition, the Hitman's Heatmaker is the only sniper rifle that actually works with the reload speed upgrade. When you take a shot with a scoped-in sniper rifle, you immediately get kicked out of the scope and have to wait for a small delay of 1.5 seconds, the same default time of sniper's reload. So, assuming if you purchase reload upgrades for any other sniper rifle, you can technically hip fire faster, but you won't be getting headshots faster, with the exception of the Hitman's because it stays in while scoped. Another minor bonus that the Hitman's has is the ability to instantly go from scoped to unscoped, ideal if you see a barrage of crit rockets coming your way. What about secondary weapons? Well, don't bother with the SMG or Razorback, both are pretty terrible, as the SMG is just an extremely weaker version of Heavy's minigun, and if you can't pay attention to
Alert! There are spies coming!
Then I recommend consulting your doctor to get your ears checked, not use the Razorback. The Darwin's Danger Shield is also pretty niche if you're having problems with pyros in missions. You could equip it, although I think an easier solution would just be dodge better. Especially when the Cozy Camper exists. If you don't plan on supporting your team, or your team doesn't seem to need your support from Girardi and there aren't any tanks either, highly recommend the Cozy Camper. No flinching on full charge shots is extremely helpful since robots seem to prioritize shooting the scope sniper 9 miles away rather than the 5 other people who are directly in front of them. You also get to recover from that 6 chip damage that random scout did to you with its passive regen, and get a slight knockback resistance as well when scoped in. But if you are looking to support your team, then Girardi is here for you. Not only does it allow teammates to deal extra damage to soaked robots, but you can also upgrade it to slow them down to a halt, as mentioned prior. Perfect for those giant scout waves. It's a pretty cut and dry weapon choice, to be honest. Finally, we have... No. The Cleaner's Carbine. The Cleaner's Carbine, surprisingly, is okay in this game mode when paired with the Bushwhacker. Tanks are immune to being coated by Girardi, but you can still get mini crits through shooting them with the Cleaner's Carbine. That's it though. It allows Sniper, a class that shouldn't deal with tanks, the ability to sorta deal with tanks. It can also be combined to further boost your explosive headshot damage when you swap back to your primary, but the timing on that is a bit too short to make much use of it. As for melee weapons, the Bushwhacker, obviously, allows you to deal with robots that get too close for comfort with Girardi, and as mentioned prior, if paired with the Cleaner's Carbine, with attack speed upgrades, it means you can deal a decent chunk of damage against tanks. If you plan on using something else, like the Cozy Camper, use stock, obviously. The Trauman's Shiv and Stupid Speaking Sword require a bit too much time or risk to be considered really effective. Now that you're properly equipped to fight off the robot revolt, let's see what upgrades you should focus. Explosive headshot. It's always explosive headshot. If you have to choose between explosive headshot and saving a loved one, pick explosive headshot. Just always pick explosive headshot, okay? The bread and butter of sniper and one of the most powerful upgrades in the entire game. Explosive headshot should be the first upgrade you purchase above all else. Not only does it grant you extreme crowd control capabilities, being able to kill all lightweight classes in its radius with a single point, but it also has some slight support capabilities, being able to slow down hit robots. The damage is also completely flat, there is no ramp up or fall off, nor is it affected by your sniper charge rate. Highly recommend trying to prioritize maxing out explosive headshot to increase its damage, range, and slowdown. If the damage still feels lackluster, try pairing it with Girardi or the cleanest carbine to grant mini crits, further bolstering its damage. Getting kills with explosive headshots also automatically picks up the money dropped by robots, leaving behind piles of red cash that don't actually mean anything but are there so you don't screw over your scout's overheal. Now that you have the most important upgrade available, let's just focus on making it happen constantly with reload speed. As mentioned before, however, reload speed only works if you're shooting while unscoped or in focus. Otherwise, there's a 1.5 second delay that you're forced to sit through when scoping out, even when the gun's already been reloaded. Just a lovely bit of source spaghetti with your MvM tours, yeah? As a result, if you're using any sniper rifle aside from the Hitman's Heatmaker, don't bother with this upgrade at all. If you are using the best sniper rifle available, do focus on it. The faster you can shoot means the faster you can get headshots, which means the faster you kill groups of robots, and trust me, I've done the math on this one, it checks out. On top of that, we have the flat out damage upgrade. Simple enough. I recommend focusing this alongside or after you max out reload speed. The damage increase doesn't carry to explosive headshots sadly, but is still ideal for focusing giants. Charge rate is a bit of a toss-up. On certain other sniper rifles like the Machina or Sydney Sleeper, it's required to reach their full potential. But on the Hitman's Heatmaker with full reload upgrades, it becomes less of a sniper rifle and more of a full-on machine gun. You won't truly receive the benefit of faster charge since you'll typically be shooting so fast. But for those who prefer to wait and maximize their damage, especially on tours like Gear Grinder, the increased charge rate is extremely helpful. Better to have than not need, especially when you consider it's the cheapest upgrade available for sniper rifles. Ammo capacity and health on kill are both pretty situational and depend on several factors to be considered worth it. Are you near any ammo or health packs? Decoy, for example, has a full health and ammo pack in the ideal sniper spot, meaning investing in these upgrades is kind of pointless, but Rottenberg doesn't. Do what you need to do, but I wouldn't invest too much in health on kill as each headshot explosion kill will also heal you. Then we have projectile penetration. I'm not a fan of it, to be honest. The benefit of getting projectile penetration is that you have the possibility to have 2 explosive headshots occur in one shot. Works best on groups of giants, but it rarely ever works, so what's the point? Explosive headshot will typically take care of crowds, meaning getting another one at the same time doesn't do a whole lot, and the chances of 2 robots lining up for a double headshot is incredibly rare in most ways, and 400 credits is really costly. You could get another explosive headshot upgrade if that, or just a straight damage upgrade. If I wanted penetration, I would just go to your mom's house. For secondary upgrades, the only one really worth mentioning is the slow-soaked enemies for Girardi. If your team is having difficulty with scouts and you have excess money, why not invest in it? Same thing with upgrading swing speed for Bushwhacker to help with tanks. I consider this to be an extremely low priority though, and you should only really bother with it in the last few waves. What about character upgrades? Crit resistance is always handy as it essentially saves you in case you fail to get out of the blast radius of any nuclear bombs that the bots launch at you. Aside from that, Sniper being allowed in the back line doesn't really require any damage resistances, as you can hopefully get out of the way before they hit you, which you can guarantee with some movement speed upgrades if need be. Still, all this stuff depends on your skill level. If your hitbox is inexplicably the same size as the Great Wall of China, then it might be a smart idea to pick up some damage resistances. Now that you know what weapons to use and what upgrades to get, you're finally ready-
But what about the Huntsman?
What about the Huntsman?
Well, if this is supposed to be a sniper guide, shouldn't you go over it too?
Alright, sure. Just understand that the Huntsman is terrible in MvM and you can't really do a whole lot with it. You don't get access to explosive headshot, instead your damage solely comes from your somewhat fast reload rate. I say somewhat because even maxed out, there's no charge rate upgrade for the Huntsman requiring you to fully pull back the bow each time. As a result, focus on spamming out as many weak-ass primitive Neolithic arrows as you can, you Neanderthal. Because you lack the single greatest upgrade in the game, you'll have to settle with projectile penetration to be able to deal with crowds. Does it come close to the sheer power that explosive headshot had? Imagine Helen Keller, a woman born blind and deaf, fighting against 9 times world heavyweight boxing champion Muhammad Ali with a gun. That is the power scale that we're talking about. The Huntsman also has access to bleeding. Only purchase this upgrade once to set the bleed duration to 5 seconds. There is no need to give it a 10-second bleed duration or heaven forbid a 15-second bleed duration. The bleed damage is extremely minuscule and minor, but it's more damage, so buy it. Ammo capacity is also needed a lot more for the Huntsman than the sniper rifle due to it only having 13 arrows. If you're planning to dart in and out dispenser range, you might not need to buy it, but I still recommend at least getting it once to give you 20 arrows. Finally, we have the plain old basic base damage upgrade. After you have the basic setup being reload speed, bleed, and projectile penetration, just siphon all your credits into pure damage or health on kill and resistances if you're having a hard time staying alive, which you probably are, because you thought it was a smart idea to give up being far away from the dangerous robots to be closer to them. Are you happy that I went over the Huntsman now?
Yeah.
Great. Hopefully I shouldn't have to explain the sniping priority in MvM because it's fairly obvious. Focus on dealing with the medics, then the bomb carrier, followed by any giants. Tanks should typically be ignored by snipers unless there aren't any robots around to help out a little bit. And that's the basics for Sniper and MvM. There's of course some other nuanced depths and knowledge you'll pick up as you both play him and MvM to improve even further. For example, if you're having trouble hitting bots, wait for them to pick up the bomb as it drastically slows them down. Robots can't deal random crits, meaning you don't need to purchase crit resistance unless you see any red background bots. Enemy spies have perfect melee hits. They won't hit each other's collision boxes when they swarm you, unlike normal melee weapons for some stupid reason. Sentry busters do in fact have a head. They share demos models and their head is placed just above the top of them. Tanks don't have heads though and are immune to Jarate, bleed, and explosive headshots. And that's that for Sniper and MvM. Consider this video just a basic guide for those who feel tempted to play Sniper but feel worried about getting kicked by Mr. Tor 4017 Tacobot.tf. Get some experience under your belt utilizing the Sniper meta, and then feel free to branch out and do different strategies. Maybe you'll switch from the Hitmans to the Sydney Sleeper, or give the Huntsman a try, God help you. As long as you and the people you're playing with are having a good time, doesn't matter if you wasted 3 hours restarting a tour because of a single giant scout. Just know that if I find out that you've been promoting the Cleaner's Carbine, I will find you, and you will not be heard from again. See all these missing posters at the back right here? The Patreons? Yeah, you think they're Patreons? Really? Think again. What do you think this guy did? Huh? Think he gave me money? Or do you think that he promoted the Cleaner's Carbine? What about this guy? Huh? Promoted the Cleaner's Carbine, huh? Nah, he's different. He said he liked Stuart Little. I cannot stand that fucking rat. Truly a war criminal. That's my thoughts on Stuart Little and the Cleaner's Carbine right there. Truly a war criminal. Only like the most sick and twisted serial killer minds like Stuart Little and the Cleaner's Carbine. There's a correlation. It's fact. I've done studies. I've done the numbers. I've done the tests. It is a proven fact. Link between serial killers, the Cleaner Carbine, and Stuart Little.